going on, dudes and dudettes? So yes, the Anaheim Ducks the other day did beat the reigning Stanley Cup champion, the Vegas Golden Knights, 4-2, which is pretty cool. Obviously nice taking down the ex-champs, but that means they were on a 6-game winning streak at the time, and I believe they play tonight against Pittsburgh at home, which will be a pretty tough game, but they did just recently beat them on the road as well, so maybe they can extend it to 7. But yeah, these young Ducks, as they're saying, they keep flying together. So, excuse me, definitely looking forward to seeing what they can do after tonight. Definitely looking forward to that game. And then also the women's basketball team for USC were also playing in Vegas. Sorry as I fix some of this lighting. Yes, they were playing in Vegas and ended up getting that victory against the number 4 team in the country in Ohio State. I believe they won that game 83-74, and Juju Watkins, the star freshman, went off for 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists as well. So she definitely pronounced herself in college basketball, and hopefully this is just the beginning of many wins that they could string up and then head towards the March Madness tournament eventually in a couple months. Off to a good start, and yeah, definitely looking forward to, like I said, this team showing out, and they definitely look like they're pretty good and rolling so far. And then, yes, sadly, the Lakers did lose last night by 1 to the Miami Heat's 107-108. They had a couple of chances at the end to get a game-winning shot. I believe they missed a 3, and then they had another chance. And then they made up a play for Cam Reddish, the ex-Duke player, and sadly he missed the shot as well. It would have been an even greater night if that shot were to go down, especially because he's ex-Duke, and it would be the Lakers winning on a game winner. But yes, sadly they did just come up short. And for some reason, Anthony Davis went out like pretty early in that third quarter. I think something had happened to him right before halftime, and then he tried to go out again to try to push through it, and something wasn't working, or he thought he was going to pull something worse, so I guess he decided to keep him out. But yeah, once again, the top player you're supposed to be trusting and paying the second most on the team isn't performing well. And like I said, the Lakers either have to hope that this guy stays 100% healthy at some point when it comes important in the future, when it's the playoffs and finals, or get rid of him, get younger assets, and you'll still be able to get a young star player out there, in my opinion, if you could just send him to like Chicago and you get like Zach LaVine back or something like that. But either way, we'll just have to wait and see. I forgot to mention the other day with the defensive changing on the coach's side for USC football that the ex-safety, Taylor Mays, was moving from like a grad assistant / like analyst, defensive analyst, up to one of the safeties coaches. So that's pretty cool for him. Obviously, he was a great ex-safety for USC in his playing career in the late 2000s, like, do you say 2010s? Because if it hasn't reached 2010, but you say the late 2000s, but that's, I don't know. It's between like after Reggie Bush and before like 2009 or 2010, whatever. But yes, he was very good for USC at the time. Physical beast, a science experiment pretty much. Freaking over 6'3" plus, over 220 something pounds playing safety. It was just insane. At times he would knock out his own players other than the other team himself. But yeah, either way, it's a pretty good opportunity for him, and we'll see what ends up happening with his future going forward. And then the USC women's soccer team ended up becoming postseason bound the other day after their successful season, which is nice. I think it's like the 10th straight time, if not even longer, that they've been able to make the postseason, and they get a team in Grand Canyon, so it looks like they should get that victory. In my just humble, honest opinion, just knowing the school of how bit of a lower division or playing style that Grand Canyon is, so hoping that's a victory I'm talking about in a couple of days or so. But yes, congrats to those girls. And then Duke basketball was playing last night as well. They ended up getting that victory against Dartmouth. Also, they got that 92-54. Kyle Filipowski, the top returning sophomore, stepped up 25 points and 7 rebounds. Sadly, no Mark Mitchell, the returning one of the top sophomores. I guess there was like some type of injury that popped up all of a sudden, and he did not want to push it and risk getting him more injured, which is okay because just against Dartmouth. And they did have Jared McCain, though, the star freshman from out here in Corona Centennial, starting for them as well. I wondered if that was going to be, but I did hear a press conference at the end of Coach John Shire saying that because Mitchell was out, they added Ryan Young, who was more of the power forward / center spot. Well, so that to me means that McCain would be a starter already, which is pretty interesting and pretty cool for him. But he had an up and down game because he started off pretty good, hit a couple of nice threes, playing good defensively, but just a little bit too handsy and a little bit too much contact, and ended up fouling out with 4 or 5 minutes left in the game when they're trying to get him some more playing time. But yeah, Duke ended up having this quite a bit. Even Caleb Foster, one of the other top freshmen, had like 15 points, something like that. So he played very well. The other star freshmen like TJ Power or Sean Stewart. Power didn't really do much. Stewart had a nice dunk there and did okay somewhat, but he's still kind of like just playing based off his athleticism and not that much smarts. But I'm assuming that's why he's down and playing more towards the end of the game as of right now. But if he could put all together smarts with that athleticism, then I think he could be a good rotational player for them once they get into the tournament. But either way, nice way to start off the season with the victory. They're 1-0, and they get a tough, talented, ranked Arizona team this Friday. Luckily, it is at Duke, so hopefully the Crazies will be able to help them out and get that victory on Friday. I wanted to get through these stats that I saw on X about Caleb Williams and why he may or may not be a Heisman finalist, even though he's throwing up some ridiculous numbers. As far as when it comes to passing touchdowns, he leads FBS. Total touchdowns, he leads FBS. The points responsible for, he leads FBS as well. And then he's second in passing yards, which isn't that bad at all. He's also throwing 70% completion rate and only 4 interceptions on the season. And yet, I'm assuming it's just because of the way his team has played. And yeah, you kind of think if it was the same type of Caleb performance from last year, he would be relishing in this because he would be able to get even more stats and more points and all this stuff and to help out his numbers looking for the Heisman race. But I don't know. I see these numbers too, and I'm like, yeah, of course he should be in the Heisman race, even though his talk about it has been going down. But I just think he has made some pretty bad, he's taking some pretty bad sacks and fumbles here and there. Like, he did have a fumble right before halftime against Washington, and they went down and scored off of that turnover. And then even late when they're only down by 3 in the fourth quarter, driving down, he takes a bad sack, and they're out of field goal range and have to punt the ball. So maybe they're just looking at that as to why. But a lot of guys make mistakes, especially in college, and it's just more magnified because it's Caleb Williams, the ex-Heisman winner. It's obvious that he doesn't have as great of a team around him anymore, but still putting up those numbers. I mean, it's kind of like a Johnny Manziel-ish type of second, hangover season of the Heisman where, yeah, your team isn't as good because they all got elevated to the NFL because of how great your performance was. But then you're kind of left with a lot of the younger guys or undeveloped guys and kind of dealing with that season. But either way, he still most likely will be a number 1 pick, even though a lot of people are talking crap about him, about showing emotion, whatever. But we already been through that. It's nothing to get too crazy about. It's just, a young guy going through the motions of letting down his team. That's all it is. And he felt that. He wants to change. He wants to change that, but it's pretty tough with the type of defense they have over there. And yes, USC, the men's basketball side, played last night as well. It was a later game. It was like 7:30 or 8, whatever, when it started in Vegas. But they did also get that victory against Kansas State, 82-69, who was a team that went to the Elite 8. Obviously, they don't have the same amount of players as they did, but they were still talented enough. I was surprised that they weren't a ranked team because they, did go far last year and returned some people. But yeah, it was still a tough game. USC looked like they were going to blow them out going towards the end of that second half, but then Kansas State did make a run, put it to close to almost 1 score, but luckily, Collier did do his job as one of the top freshmen. He was great. He had like 18 points, 5 or 6 assists. He was doing good overall. But then, of course, he fouls out with like 10 minutes left, and they kind of had to trust the super senior in Boogie Ellis, and he did step up. He had like 24 points. Also had like 8 rebounds and 5 assists in that game towards the end, and made a lot of clutch shots also towards the end. So yeah, he did great. A lot of other guys, they definitely need to step up, but it definitely looks like it's definitely guard heavy, because it's Collier did great, even though he fouled out. Boogie Ellis stepped up and finished the game, and Kobe Johnson was always there, and he was great on defense and did help out offensively as well, having a couple dunks and some nice timely threes towards the end. So if he can definitely provide a spark on offense, because you already know he's going to bring it on defense, but if he could bring it on offense and a couple of those other guys step up as well, knock down some open shots or get some easy dunks, then yeah, this team will be pretty great and pretty awesome during the tournament. So you definitely need some guard help, and that's definitely what they have right now. So we'll have to wait and see. And then the Monday Night Football crew last night pretty much all picked the Jets to win that game. I don't know why, because even though the Jets were above 500, they still are struggling and don't look as good. But I guess it's just because of their defense against the up and down Chargers. But that was just enough motivation for the Chargers to throw out one of their best defensive performances. Not as great offense, but they did get this victory 27-6. And I believe when it came down to the defense, they allowed 0 touchdowns. They had 8 sacks and 3 takeaways as well, which was nice. And then the rookie from USC, Thule, ended up getting 7 quarterback pressures, which is the most by a rookie in Week 9 in all of the NFL, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, that defense definitely stepped up. And even there was a point towards the end of the game where they were almost going to give up a touchdown. They stopped them on 4th down with like 1 yard to go. And it was just great to see. It was a great feeling, because that was like their second and third stringers out there, and they still made the stop on pretty much the Jets' first offense that they had. Even though, yeah, the Jets aren't that great, and when you think about the wins of the Chargers this year, it's always been against crappier teams. I guess Minnesota, their first win now looks pretty good, even with Cousins gone. That team is up there in the NFC rankings. But if you go with like the Bears are still kind of struggling. The Raiders are struggling, even though they beat the Giants 30-6 this last Sunday. And then, of course, the Jets are up and down, especially with Zach Wilson. And they have a stout defense, but you can't trust that young guy. And obviously, it'd be different if they had Aaron Rodgers. And he even did make a comment to Derwin James at the end of the game that he might just give him a couple weeks, because Derwin James asked him when he was coming back, and he said give him a couple weeks. So I don't know if that's breaking news or not, but I'm sure all the freaking ESPNs and Foxes are all going to debate if that is true or not, and he's going to have to go on some show and debunk it, or I don't know, get more attention for him, because he's not doing any more State Farm commercials this year, so he has to get attention somehow, of course. But yeah, there was history made by Keenan Allen, though, in this game. He's the quickest Charger to reach 10,000 career receiving yards, so that's pretty good for him. Obviously, he's caught the ball so many freaking times, especially once playing with Herbert and Rivers as well. But yeah, I think he had already reached one of those. I forget which one. I think he reached the career. He has the record for the Chargers as like a receiver, but he still needs to pass Gates on both the receiving portion and touchdowns as well. So I'm pretty sure that's coming soon at some point. Hopefully he still has enough gas in the tank to play a couple more years to be able to get those records. But it's just amazing that I was able to watch both Antonio Gates get those records, and then I'll be able to see Keenan Allen break those records as well. It's going to be pretty fun in the near future if that hopefully does happen or not. So yeah, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.